Next guest, of course, is a TV host, entrepreneur, best known for E! News, her blog, The Catwalk, and being a badass. Please welcome my friend Catt Sadler.
Thanks, guys. I love the women power. Every one person I've met since I stepped in here has been a chick, a female, and it's like the energy's amazing.
Thanks.
So well done on you.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah, we like good
It's like
female
girl power
energy.
around here. I like it.
Yeah. The only guy around is Maximus in the backyard, which I'm dying for you to meet.
Oh, we need to introduce
son.
Scarlett and Maximus.
I know. I used to when we lost Apollo, I would just look at Cat's shepherd all the time, be like, I need a fix. Can you bring Scarlett? And so Scarlett came to set one time, and yeah.
They need to meet, and my condolences about baby, by the way. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, Max and Scarlett would get along because she's a girl.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Oh, Maximus is a girl?
He's a boy.
Oh.
No, boy and a girl,
boy
they usually go better.
better.
Yeah, we need a buddy for him. Bad.
Okay,
but I'm not getting another dog.
That's so cute.
So you say now.
Yeah, no, Kevin keeps saying, he's like, but Wally, he's really desperate. I go, no more dogs.
I don't believe you. I don't
Wally.
believe you.
How many do you have now, by the way?
We have 3.
You're okay.
But Benjamin is turning 18 this year, and he's been, we didn't know if he was going to go before baby.
I think I met Benjamin just a couple weeks ago.
My chubby bubby.
Yeah.
He's my everything. Oh, guys, I lost it last night. We were sitting watching TV, and I lost it with him. I'm like, I can't lose you. And I was wailing because he needs me. But now that he's been getting me solely every night, he's turning around. He's back to his old self. He's rejuvenated. Last night, he crawled over and sat over my head. He hasn't done that in months. It's so wild because we had to put a lot of attention into baby.
Yeah.
And so we had Winnie babysitting Benny. So they would sleep in their kennel together, and they would sleep with us for a little while, and then they'd go back to their kennel. But now that he's getting me full time, and I'm spending so much time with him, he's doing better. Anyway, enough dog talk.
But that's good news.
Let's get to the cat.
Happy to hear
Let's
it.
get to cat talk. I didn't even know I was doing that till I did it. That was so clever.
Very good. There's a show in there somewhere, isn't there?
Yep.
Enough dog talk. Let's get to cat talk.
Cat.
So Cat, a lot has gone on since I saw you last.
A little bit.
So first, take me through how this all started, because I know that I read an executive kind of pulled you aside and said, you're getting paid half what Jason Kennedy's getting paid. And was she doing that to kind of give you some ammo in negotiations? Were you negotiating at the time?
I wasn't. And that's a great question, because looking back, and I haven't, I won't obviously disclose who that person was, but I haven't straight up said, why did you tell me that? I think it was just a good faith of female to female, here's some information.
Yeah.
So that was long before my negotiations were to begin, but it was also at an interesting time when the show Daily Pop had premiered. So my responsibilities at the time had essentially doubled. My workday started 3 hours earlier. And so I think it was just a good faith, and someone who might just have respected my grind was just saying, you should know this. So I just, at that time, and again, we'll talk all through this as my ring just
there goes the ring. We'll get it.
We'll talk all through this, and it's good for me to go back, but I am clearly just looking forward at this point in my life. But at that time, that was just something that I filed away. Information is power. I was like, oh, good to know. We'll use that.
Were you hurt
when I do negotiate? Hurt might even be a strong word. I was surprised. I felt a little I felt almost silly. Am I that person? Listen, you know how it is. People don't go around. You don't go down the halls. You're not talking about how much you make. You're not in glam talking about how much you make. These aren't conversations that people were having.
Yeah.
I think that's changing. But I felt almost a little silly. I almost felt a little naive that I was being taken advantage of, because I had been there for more than a decade. And part of why I was there, I do believe, for 12 years is because I am a team player. I do show up on time. I have a great attitude. I'm not a diva. So all of the things that kept me there, because I was an ideal employee, and by the way, I think pretty damn good at my job, to then find out that I was, and again, this isn't just a little less. For me, it was half. it was insulting, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. I would feel the same way.
Yeah.
So you store that information for how long? Did you bring it back up when you were in negotiations?
Yes, very much so. So, and you understand this. There's some of this I'm not even at liberty to talk about because there are contractual laws that are where both parties have to be protected. How all this goes down. But I will just say that yes, that was absolutely a key part of the negotiation. Several months later. And that was the basis. I mean, that was the basis for my entire negotiations. Were really surrounded, or the entire emphasis of me staying and wanting to continue to work there had to do with fairness at that point. And so that was just a starting point for me. I was like, well, we're going to start here because this is what's fair, and then we'll get to the nitty gritty. And we couldn't even get to the fair part. Yeah.
So it was a moot point at that point. There was so then how do you get the courage to say, as a single mom of 2 kids, I just got the chills all the way down my body, by the way, because I thought you were so brave and I was so blown away by this. How do you get the courage to say, I'm going to walk away from my dream job and risk maybe not getting another job because this isn't right and I'm going to take a stand?
I knew in my heart of hearts that if I were to settle and accept what, in my opinion, was an injustice, I mean, I truly felt I was being discriminated against in an unlawful way. That I knew if I settled simply because it was safe or simply because I had bills to pay, not simply because that's a huge thing, especially for so many women that are experiencing this same thing. I knew that it would conflict with my core of who I was, that I couldn't even go on the air and do the job that I needed to do. I wouldn't have been good because I am a person who operates with integrity, and every day I get up, I have to do what's real for me, what's authentic for me. So I knew that if I somehow settled just to be safe, then I wouldn't have served myself as a human. I wouldn't have served them. I wouldn't have served my coworkers. I would have been bitter. And so somebody said to me, they're like, I consulted with a lot of people. It was one of the hardest decisions I ever made. And somebody's like, do you bet on you? And I said, you are damn right. I bet on me. Yep. If I don't walk, then if we're not our own biggest cheerleader, then what are we? And I knew my worth, by the way. It is scary, but that's why I was so strong on my convictions of knowing that what I deserved and that I wasn't getting that. Yeah. Because I know that I have 20 years in broadcasting experience. I knew I would land on my feet. And what's happened on the other side of walking is nothing less of miraculous because so many things are now happening. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, and that's what I tell so many girls that I've spoken with and young girls and coming into the workforce, is like, that's the reward on the other side is so fulfilling and it's so real. And my heroes like Oprah and everybody else, you always hear it, but then to have to stare it down and actually live it is very scary. But absolutely zero regrets.
Yeah. It's definitely the bravest thing I've seen someone do, like, in the workplace. I mean, obviously we're seeing so many women being brave. I shouldn't say that. I mean, we're seeing unbelievable courage, but well,
I think that's part of it. I mean, for me, had this happened 3 years ago, maybe we'd be having a different conversation. Maybe I would have been too afraid or too paralyzed with the unknown. But I mean, honestly, the women, the sisterhood, all these people in our industry and so many industries using their voices like that definitely inspired me because, maybe it was more at the time, the movement was more Me Too, not as much. Time's Up came up after I left E! I mean, that was coined, a couple weeks after I left. But those women, without a doubt, helped inspire me to use my voice. Yep. It's part of this whole conversation we're having. Like, we will no longer be silent. For years, decades, women, our mothers, people just so long. It's this innate culture that we were taught to keep it nice. Don't tattle. Don't tell.
Don't be a diva.
Don't be a diva. Don't be a bitch. I mean, Maria,
don't be difficult. Oh, trust me. Trust me.
It's a constant. I mean, look at all of your success, everything you've built. I mean, how many times I can only imagine that it's so easy for people to go up, chalk somebody up to being a bitch.
Yep.
Because you demand what you know is right for you, and you operate that way. And it's hard for all women too, because we got to be the everything, right? Like we're doing. I mean, don't get me started. I'm going to take off down and go on a tangent here.
I was blown away by the celebrity response. Everybody that came to your defense, it was so amazing. And then at the Emmys, to see all those women, oh my God, walk up to the red carpet and to tout your name and to be defiantly against Eve for not stepping up to the plate. It was so unbelievable. And I wonder, did you know that they were going to do that?
I had caught wind literally just hours before the Golden Globes that they were organizing.
No way.
Yeah. And
were you like, yes, torch them? I'm kidding.
No, that's the thing. Maria, I wasn't. It's such, again, there are certain key people that were responsible for what happened to me. But that was my family for 12 years. So, I mean, that was my work home. So on the one hand, absolutely, I'm like,
certain people need to go down for this, but not everybody else. That's always the situation.
It's always the case. So
that's why they're lucky we're women, because we actually have empathy and care.
Exactly. I mean, and that's what it was. Like, I want people to roar and speak up to the wrongs that I'm experiencing, but countless women across the globe are experiencing. Yes. So it was out of body for sure. And I caught wind of it, and I thought, I was, doing what we do as typically as women. I wasn't working the Golden Globes, so I was, of course, going to be like glued to the television. And I'm almost late to the beginning because I've taken my dog to the dog washer, and I'm like, I've got 17 things going on with the kids, and I'm like, I have to be in front of a television at this time.
Yeah, especially with that knowledge.
But even then, we've worked in this business long enough to know people say things like, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe somebody will say something. Oh gosh, I really just thought, I had no idea that it would be at the level that it was, and I was completely blown away, needless to say.
Maria Menounos.
Guys, we're back with Catt Sadler. As you know, not long ago, she walked away from her dream job due to pay disparity, and we have a critic from Variety magazine who's going to be on the phone with us in a little bit to help us kind of decipher a little of this stuff. But I want to ask, when you left, did the executives, like, how did these people handle this, like, at the end? Like, I know that I saw, video online of your goodbye, and everybody seemed, they did a beautiful tribute to you. Did you know at that point you were going to go public with this?
Yes.
You did.
I did. And it's, a lot of people may not understand how all of these things go down, if you will. I mean, negotiations are very, so people know, like, we as the artist are so, like, removed from the process. That's why you have a team and you have agents, and so the whole process.
And sometimes they handle it well, and sometimes they don't, and you have no control over that, by the way.
That's true too. But it wasn't as if I had a lot of face-to-face about this whole issue. The team was doing, they did, everything is very crystal clear, my stance and what I wanted and what I knew I deserved. But when that didn't work and the writing was on the wall and I'm literally determining my last day will be, it was very uncomfortable. It was hard to go through the halls. It was difficult to be on TV, knowing what I knew in my heart of hearts, but also knowing that I was so heartbroken and upset about what happened. At the end of the day, it was so wrong, but I couldn't say that to the viewers. That was the trickiest part for me, because the last day, I was just gonna do my last day and not even say anything. Like, I was always from the position, this isn't a celebration. This
Yeah.
is not a celebration. I'm pissed, you know.
Yeah.
This is wrong.
Well, this puts a nice bow on it for them.
That's what was the conflict.
Yeah.
And then for me, it was like, you know what, this isn't about them. At this point, I have been on the air around the world for 12 years. It's about the viewer. So I had to take myself out of it, take them out of it, and go, you know what, I want to look into that camera and thank the viewers, thank the fans, thank my coworkers, thank the Tom McNamara's of the world who'd been there 28 years. You know, these people I've worked beside.
You thanked your colleagues. And here's the thing that I thought you did that was so admirable is you kept saying, please don't come at Jason for this, because it was obvious that could happen because he was the one making more money, but you know that was beyond his control. That wasn't something that he should be culpable for. And I thought that was really classy and really amazing about you, about how you handled it. I think you handled the whole thing, you know, really gracefully. And I would expect no less. But I think that as it spun out in the press, things got a little hairy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
How do you think that Jason handled responding?
Jason had to do what Jason had to do. I always have stood by his side, and he's always stood by mine. And I've said it from day one. I don't know how many times I've said it in the press, how many different ways I've said this has nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with me and the gross disparity. Jason was always a champion of mine.
Did he go to them on your behalf?
I believe so, yes. Like, so that's why proactively I made such a point of saying, this isn't about him. By the way, he has his own family. And by the way, he deserves every dime he's making, without question, you know? This isn't that he didn't deserve that much. It's that I deserved as much, you know? And that's a very different story.
Which, by the way, it's funny because I got interviewed recently and they only took one part of mine. Because, you know, it's funny. We were walking down Beverly Hills and Kevin was asked what he thought. And he's like, listen, it's apples to apples. They should have been paid the same. Or in the same vicinity. Yeah, like somebody might negotiate a touch more or whatever. And it might have been your way or it might have been his way. But to have that big disparity is just not appropriate and not right. And they only used the part where I talked about the overall thing, which is why I want to bring in Mo from Variety at some point, is that, you know, there are going to be bigger players that command more. And I know that they have cited Juliana. I think I've been cited. And like, there are going to be different players. Like LeBron James is playing the same amount of minutes as one of his other starting five, but he's built a bigger brand. And so sometimes you're going to have to, you know,
and you said that, and of course that got twisted in the press to be like you were shading me, and I know that's not what you meant.
I texted her in the middle of me mourning my dog. I'm like, Kat, I just want you to know, like, that's not what because then they phrased it as this is what she feels about
Kat's
Kat.
departure.
I'm like, obviously that's not what I'm talking about.
Because you know what's funny? I have used the same analogy for my own story. I mean, I am a very reasonable person. I've been in the business long enough to know that, of course, people command different money for different experiences. Steph Curry, who's the star player who, you know, was the number one draft pick or whatever and has had how many championships, is going to garner more money than the new rookie who's is his first year, who's still might be on the same team. And they might do the same workouts. They might go to the same games. But of course, that is how every industry works. And in my case, that's precisely why I felt confident enough to go public, because I know the inner workings of how those days work. I know the same year that I came there with the same other person. I know that from a network standpoint, we were positioned a lot. Even when you were there as a trifecta, I was a fixture on that show
every day.
And then you want to give me another, you can't. And then you leave and two people are side by side as kind of like the male and female of this network.
You guys were the faces. Yeah.
You can't say that we have quote unquote different roles.
Well,
and he
what
has
did you
some
think
kind of expertise that I do not.
What did you think of that? Especially when it's a female that comes out, and then do you give her a pass and say maybe she doesn't know? Because I've done that so many times where I've given people passes and I'm like, maybe she didn't know.
Maria, it's her job to know. It's her network.
I know.
I mean, give a pass.
I know.
Why?
No. Trust me. Kevin and I have these conversations and I always give them passes and he goes, Maria, are you crazy? I'll be on the phone with them and I'm like, in case you didn't know, this is what went down and how dare you? How dare you? I had like one situation in my life where I went crazy, where normally I don't say anything and I just suck it up and I'm like, you know what, smell you later. I'm going to go on to greener pastures and that's it. But yeah, when someone comes out and says that they had different roles, like, it's funny because I saw people on social media. They're like, no, here she is next to him on this award show. Here she is next to him at that award show.
Well, that I have to say was really gratifying because I didn't have to defend myself because the people who watch that network and have for 10 years are going, next excuse, because that didn't work. To me, it was actually like, are you watching your own network?
But how do people get away with that? Is it just they hope the cycle ends and no one's going to do the homework?
How do they get away with it? I think that people are coached on exactly what to say, how to say it, and that this is, by the way, there is something called the the Pay Act. I'm sure your gal can get on the phone and talk more about this, but it is unlawful to discriminate. It is sexual discrimination. So you better believe that people are going to say on record what protects them in a certain particular instance.
Wait, so are you suing me for this? Because you can?
Not today.
But you might. You have a year, right? Or something like that? Got it. Yeah. I could see that. Let's get Mo Ryan, Chief TV Critic at Variety, on the line. Are you there, Mo?
I'm here. Hi.
Hi. So as we're talking about all of this, the big question that I have is, how do we fix the pay gap, right, between men and women? And but at the same time, like when we think of like Mark Wahlberg and Michelle Williams and all this stuff, and Catt and Jason, of course, how do we fix that, but also understand that it's not going to be the same? Like Mark Wahlberg is, he's a name that puts butts in the seats overseas, where maybe Michelle Williams wouldn't. But does that still mean that she should make $80 a day, like to his,
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different, I feel like this has started so many wonderful conversations. Catt's situation, Me Too. We're talking essentially about power and how it's distributed and who gets rewarded for working hard and trying to climb the ladder. And things, as you know, are so skewed in the entertainment industry because these positions are so coveted and because it's so competitive. But I think there's so many interesting things happening on a number of fronts. One of them is people sharing information. And of course, probably with your friends here and there, you would talk over drinks about like who makes what, or what have you heard, what do you make?
Yeah, I remember being on set with you, Catt, and telling you what to ask for and being like, no, you need to ask for this, you need to ask for that, get this in there, get that in there. Like I'm always telling people because it's hard.
Transparency is helpful.
And I think as women, we're trained not to.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, Mo, is like, I think for women and even the agents who are representing us, we're told that we're lucky to just have what we have and just keep quiet, put your head down and be amazing. And yes, you have to work harder. Like that's how we're trained. Michelle Williams is trained to say, oh no, I'll do it for free. We're trained to think like that and to be like that and to be amazing mensches. And at the end of the day, the guys are like, yeah, F you, give me money, give me more. I want this. I want private jets. And then if we ask for a private jet, not that I'm asking for one, but I'm saying like if we ask for that shit, we're psycho divas. But if the men ask for a gym on the private jet, they're going to build it.
Absolutely. I mean, what women are socialized to do is not to be the problem, but to solve the problem.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be the helper. You're not supposed to make noise or make waves. But I think what's happening now is that people have many different ways of sharing information. I have done a lot of reporting on Me Too and transgressors in that arena. And one of the things I'm really proud of is that for one of the stories I did, it was 19 people coming forward about a particular individual, and none of them had to torch their careers to the ground in order to make that story happen because we were able to get enough confirmation, and none of them used their names. But this is typically not the kind of thing that happens because people, journalistically the story was sound, but, people are afraid. People are afraid to speak, and they're afraid to speak about compensation for sure. Yeah. But, another thing that's been happening is that people are sharing on social media their situations. People are having a direct connections to each other at meetings. behind closed doors, groups of people are sharing information. There was a spreadsheet that went around, and it still is going around as far as I know, a couple different ones actually. One for actors to just fill in without using their names. This is what I made on this show, on this network. This was the quote for this show for 2 episodes on this network.
I love that. Mo, we're running out of time, unfortunately. We're going to have you back for an entire episode because I have so many questions for you. Mo Ryan from Variety, thank you so much. And Catt, did we answer the question? Are you and Jason still friendly? Do you guys still talk? No.
Yeah.
No.
You know what?
It's
No, it's understood between both of us. We'll always love one another.
Aww.
This is a season, but let me just say, so much good has come from this. And back to what she was just saying, the conversations being had, the girls I'm hearing from, the women, the moms, like, there is this shift happening, and that is what excites me.
And I will say, after working with you, you were a wonderful colleague, and you're going to be a gift wherever you end up going. Guys, you can find